What would be the most efficient way of travel if we had the technology? Well, it's known as the Stargate. Does it exist only in the movie fantasy world, or is it in reality? Well, just recently I received an email that's unprecedented of what appears to be a star map that reveals strategic spots all across the planet in regards to possible travel through these stargates, wormholes, whatever you call it. Does it exist? Apparently this map was given to a friend of a friend 6 years ago, and just after we shared our video in regards to the underground tunnels underneath America, I received this document just a day ago. People are watching right now Third Phase Moon, and the information is coming in very fast, and our panel will be going over some of the evidence that we're going to be presenting tonight, including some incredible imagery of what just came in moments ago in regards to more Stargates spotted next to the infamous base known as Area 51. The Google imagery reveals what looks to be some kind of Stargate, archway, and some strange buildings. Could this be the power vessels that charge up the Stargate? If there were to be any Stargates that exist, you would think that it would be at Area 51. Is this the evidence that we're looking at right now? Will Google imagery remove these images? Right now, we're sharing it to the world, and it's unbelievable what we're looking at. Is the secret location and the technology behind Stargates revealed? We've heard and watched the famous movie Stargate. It came out in the 90s, and right now what we're looking at seems to be now science fact and not science fiction anymore. The Stargates may be real. Now we have revealed the map along with the Google Earth imagery. The technology behind the Stargate is still a mystery to us today, but maybe in the future will we be using Stargates to travel from one place to another in a blink of an eye.
There has been speculation that there's been Stargates that has been created right here on Earth, but then there's speculation as well that they're actually found within our solar system. We actually have a Google image from Mars actually that resembles something that we found that looks exactly like the Stargate. Are these representations that was basically alien reverse engineered that is being used right here on our own planet? Because some of this evidence is kind of mind-blowing. We got this information yesterday, and you see this grid pattern going across the whole entire planet. It seems like they're sectioned and they cross exactly where they need to be to create kind of this like pattern, a grid of Stargates. If that's the truth, what we're looking at is fascinating. Looking at this Google imagery right there at Groom Lake, so close to it, the facility, this hidden base that supposedly has just been revealed just about 4 years ago. First time President Obama actually named Area 51 is the first time ever. Now we're looking at these kind of architectural designs of a possible Stargate. What I'm looking at are these kind of domes, and they kind of look to me like small nuclear power plants. Could this be the engine that powers these high energy portals or wormholes? That's what it's going to take. It's going to take extreme power, and this might be what we're looking at right here.
Looking at this Google Earth image is quite compelling. The objects that are around look like balls. First thought would be a radar system, which they have things similar that look similar to that around the world for pilots. It helps them with GPS locations. And the fact that there's multiples lined up side by side kind of scratches that theory in my mind. The fact that they're all together makes me wonder if possibly it might be a power plant for the larger structure at the end of the row, which I think is like 15 feet across, I think 5 meters across. So it's a decent size. You could walk through it. And what if these towers are actually generators to power this possible Stargate? Now, if we look back, the last episode we did, we had this one map with very strategic lines. It was done by either an architect or a draftsman. And it showed all the locations of these different underground bases. And one at the top was Groom Lake, and it was the only one with a symbol of a triangle in the circle. The rest did not. So it made me, when I think triangles, I think Stargates for some reason. It's just the way I think. But to see that, and then now we get this map showing, I think, 25 Stargates around the world, and one of them's at Groom Lake. And then we have this Google Earth image. Pieces are falling into place. It's very, very interesting.
Okay, this is unbelievable. I can't believe in a matter of 3-4 days, we're getting maps that may have to deal with aliens and UFOs. First one was the underground tunnel system with possible alien research centers connected to them. This one, well, it's a little more exotic. It's Stargate at Area 51. This is unbelievable. This is really unbelievable what's happening here. We're talking about a way to transfer things from one place to another instantaneously. That's what a Stargate does. And that's what I think we're looking at. If you look at these Google Earth images, you're seeing what looks like Tesla coils. It's a rudimentary mock-up because the computer, the AI or whatever they have on Google Earth, if it's just a shadow that you're seeing, it tries to build what that shadow might be, and it's pretty accurate. And it came up with this Stargate and these, well, I call them joysticks, but it looks like Tesla coils and a gate or something that looks like you would think would be a doorway to wherever. Not only wherever you want to go. There's a map, the Stargate map, and it shows you places, it tells you things, and it's not that hard to see everything that way, but we don't understand what it means though. Like really, like how does it work? What do you have to do with this map? Is there another map that's do they have maps tell you where you land, where you're going? It looks like it's basically an earthly map, but it does say Stargate, wormholes, things of that nature.
Wow! Just when I thought the last submission to third phase of Moon was something earth-shattering, here we have in front of us what appears to be a Stargate map. Now, personally I didn't know about this map's existence, although I've had my suspicions. But if it is true that some of these areas of condensed energy that we're calling vortexes, portals, or stargates, or the likes, are as tangible as something you can hold in your hand in the way of a map, well, the implications are long-reaching. Now, when I first looked at this map, my eyes are initially drawn to the key, which is on the top left, and the first symbol I see is a circle, which is hollowed out. Now, these represent the 12 stargates that are spread across our planet. And underneath that, we see a smaller circle, which is solid, and this is to represent Earth's 15 natural star crystal seals. I'm not sure exactly what star crystal seals are, but I believe it's something that, with a bit of research, I could probably find out. Another thing I'll say about this map is that it mentions places of entrance perhaps to the inner Earth. Is this inner Earth the same one that Admiral Byrd had reported, or is this something more in the way of military bases that aren't so far in again, the way that we would think of inner Earth, the way that we discuss? The next symbol that really draws my eye is a square which is filled in, and this indicates parallel Stargate access. Well, that's interesting because if we have that information, we should be able to find them.
Dreamland, Groom Lake, Homey Airfield, multiple names of what they call the now infamous Area 51, where it's been rumored that not only are top secret flights going on of craft like the stealth fighter and whatever craft they're working on now, but more importantly, it is the place that's been talked about for decades about holding extraterrestrial craft, possibly bodies and other technology that did not originate from this planet. Now here, this is even better than looking at a map. We are looking at images, 3D rendered images from Google Maps, which show us parts of Area 51 that we would have never seen from, say, the Soviet satellite, which picked up Area 51 and put it on Popular Mechanics on the cover. decades ago. To actually see a possible Stargate in Area 51 does not surprise me. The question I'd like to know is it something that is naturally occurring there, which is possibly the entire reason the base was built around that area? Or is this something that we assembled based on taking the Stargate and the equipment from someplace else, such as Iraq? Either way, this ominous looking arch that you go in is really interesting to think that you might be going in, but you're not going to come out at the same location at Area 51 in Nevada. You could potentially go through and end up at another time or another location on the planet Earth or even another planet. Obviously, I'd like to speak to anyone, as would anyone out there, anyone who had been through one of these Stargates. But the mysteries of Area 51, getting one more clue to crack this puzzle, seems to be falling in line as long as Third Phase of Moon viewers keep submitting information such as this.
Yeah, it was late last night. We received an email from Yabba Dabba Doo, and we're kind of like looking at some of his information he was sending in, and then this caught our eye right here. It's mind-blowing. We do see the artist representation that Google is trying to kind of create its own pattern. It kind of creates these little generic CGI imagery, but then again, we're looking at this and it has architecture. You can see the angles of whatever this doorway is. I think Google might be interpreting something that's really there on the ground.
I have to say we are getting a lot of great stuff being sent into Third Phase of Moon, and we just got those documents and maps the other day, and now we have more coming in. As we see from this one map that has all of these ley lines, it shows all the different locations around the world where there are supposedly Stargates. And it looks like Australia happens to be one country who doesn't seem to have one. I mean, there is one offshore, but not on Australia. But everybody else seems to be getting one or two in some cases, as we see. I think here in London, there's two, or Britain, that area. But it's a complicated map looking at it. These lines that go in a cross pattern across the globe or really make it hard to analyze very well. It's distracting, but they have a meaning to them, as it's shown in the key on the map. But it's very intriguing. We've been told that there have been Stargates for a long time, so we will have to see.
The last symbol I'll mention is the triangle, which is hollow, and this is to represent Earth's 7 unnatural intruder Jehovian seals. Again, I don't know what the seals are exactly, but the words unnatural intruder catch my attention very quickly. Is it possible that these are areas that we've witnessed things coming in of alien origin, or at least they're not supposed to be here in one way, shape, or form? It's possible. Either way, this map is incredible and deserves much more analysis and time to be poured into it to understand the implications behind it.
So I would imagine you can go to other universes, galaxies at least. I mean, this is amazing. I never thought I would see something like this. I almost think it's too good to be true, because it really seems like it is. But why would the Google Earth image be up there since August 23rd of 2015? You know, how come I haven't seen it? And I'm a researcher. I look for this stuff. How come nobody brought it to your attention or Third Phase of Moon's attention until now? Same with those maps, even though those were out there, one or two, but this is a Stargate map. The implications are literally out of this world. It shows on the map there's ley lines, Easter Island, Inner Earth horizontal, Inner Earth vertical. It's got Machu Picchu on there. Did I say Easter Island? China, North America. There's one thing that really scares me though on there. And what was it? It was Earth 7 unnatural intruder, I believe. Holy mackerel. Okay, it's unnatural. That's alien to me. That sounds like aliens. And is it off-world? Maybe. Or maybe they live in Earth, because that even looks like a possibility, especially with the tunnel system that we just saw the other day. I can't tell you the implications here. We've got a 180-day deadline up on the table. People are seeing more UFOs than ever. It was the strangest year last year. You know why? A Stargate map, and an actual, it looks like the machine that could take you from, well, wherever you want to go. Bermuda Triangle, right? Giza Strip. I mean, all these places are on the map.
This is really a mind-blowing find. Lots of people have been talking about stargates, natural stargates that exist here all across the planet Earth that allow us to go in from one gate and either end up on another portion of this planet or altogether in another dimension or another timeline or even another galaxy, planet, etc. Now, the great thing about this map is not only does it show where the 12 stargates are naturally occurring stargates, along with the 15 Earth's natural star crystal seals, also ley lines, and I also love the fact that it talks about wormholes. And this is, if everyone already sees, it's a global map. If you focus on the Middle East, you will see there's lots of activity there, which actually falls in line with what historians tell us, that pretty much basically all of the modern day religions started from the Middle East. These days, a lot of people can argue that what people thought was a religious holy experience, a supernatural experience, may very well could be explained by an extraterrestrial experience. Also, let me throw one more thing in the loop. A lot of people may recall that during the Operation Iraqi Freedom, that the whole reason that we went into Iraq after 2003 was so we can go and access a Stargate that was right there in Iraq, and also take things that we have, like archaeology that have to do with the Stargate, for instance, crystal seals and whatever else was left behind by the so-called gods of the past, and bring it here to the United States for whatever purpose. Nonetheless, falling in line with what the maps of the other day of the underground bases in the United States and, of course, throughout the world, I think this map, in conjunction with the other map, really shows us a lot more of what we've been talking about and thinking about. Let me also throw one final thing into the mix. Places like Skinwalker Ranch, Stardust Ranch, another ranch of the type in England, etc., they all talk about these portals that open up and craft going in and out, beings going in and out. Well, essentially what they're describing is a Stargate or a wormhole. So I wouldn't be surprised if other naturally occurring Stargates fall into those territories.
In these pictures, there were 4 of them. You could see what seems to be 4 nodes that are sitting in the Earth. Maybe these are antennae, maybe these are some sort of energy generators. We can't really tell. But right in line with that, we also see this arching construction, which reminds me of the movie Stargate. So could this be a physical Stargate that has been found on Google Earth? Or is it something else? You know, I don't know if they actually need a physical construct to create some of these if they're not using them naturally. I believe that there have been many projects in which they have attempted to garner the power needed to do something like this to some success. And, you know, it's interesting to see that there might be a physical component that's necessary in order to understand these sort of energetic fields.
It just means that, oh man, I can't believe I'm going to say it. Maybe we are getting closer to disclosure, and the people that are offering up this evidence aren't just regular citizens. Maybe they're involved somehow, and they hide right amongst us and we would never know it. That's how the cover-up's been the whole time anyway. People have been coming out of the woodwork.
Images that we've received and we just showed to the world today are astounding. The implications behind the technology of Stargates seems to be real and getting closer and closer to reality. We received an email yesterday and we have about 62 pages from the Los Alamos Science Laboratory in regards to a project known as the Subterrane. What are the implications behind the machine? Is this what we've been waiting for? The disclosure, the technology? Third Phase Moon has been recently receiving these reports, and we're sharing it right now to the world. The rock melting drill, known as the Subterrane, was invented at the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory in the 1960s. Electrically heated laboratory scale drills were shown to penetrate rocks at a usefully high rate with moderate power consumptions. The development of the compact nuclear reactors and the heat pipes now make it possible that the extension of this technology to much larger melting penetrators. The development of the rapid, versatile, economical method of boring large, long shafts and tunnels offers solutions to many of man's most urgent of scientific, raw materials, and energy supply problems. A melting method appears to be the most promising and flexible means of producing such holes. It is relatively inexpensive to the composition of hardness structures and temperature of the rock, and offers the possibilities of producing self-supporting glass-lined holes in almost any formation, and of eliminating the debris removal problem by forcing molten rock into cracks created into the bore wall. Large rock melting penetrators called the electric subterranes or nuclear subterranes, according to the energy source used, are discussed in this report, along with problems anticipated in the development. Apparently, in 1960, it says that it concluded that this development is within the grasp of present technology. The information in regards to the documents that we received right here at Third Phase of Moon is extensive, and in tonight's episode we're going to be asking our panel members from the Third Phase of Moon team of what they think.
So here we are, now talking about the actual tunneling drill that was used to make the secret underground tunnels that brought us to aliens, possibly underground diagnostic facilities for whatever aliens may mean. But to have these 67 pages documenting the actual building of the device back in the 60s, it's mind-blowing. These are declassified files that is 67 pages filled with everything you want to know how it works. It's amazing that they even thought of such a thing, and that's what intrigues me, is like, were there tunnels before we started making tunnels? Where did they get this technology to melt rock, which I think they did back in the time when they built the pyramids, or Machu Picchu and other places like that, where you see the rock get softened and kind of put together. You can't put a credit card, a hair in there, it seals up. But this does both. This explains how they had to figure out through mathematics how fast they have to bore, how hot it has to get. And let me tell you, to melt rock, because rock is not a conductor of heat, it takes a pretty good amount of electricity or power to make that happen. This is unbelievable by any means of anything I've ever seen in the last 10 years. Other than UFO sightings, this has to be the technology that we're getting from those captured or maybe archaeological found UFOs, or technology. It may not just be UFOs, it could just be technology we found from, well, we learned yesterday, it may be us jumping through Stargates to other places to get this material, to get the technology and bring it back home and try to make it with the stuff we have. This is, the implications are numerous and unimaginable, and I'm glad that we're able to share this together. It's the first time that I've ever seen them, probably for you too. Thank you, Third Phase of Moon.
With all the recent discussion about underground military bases and stargates that spread throughout the planet, what I have in front of me here might actually be proof that we were able to dig subterraneously to such depths unimagined by our current technology. These documents are from Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory, and essentially outlined all the conventional means that we have to bore into the Earth and the machines that encompass that role. With one catch, they mention the subterrane. Now, the subterrane essentially is a machine that we think exists. It, for all intents and purposes, should exist if some of these military bases underground are as deep down as they say. Now, the interesting thing about looking through this complex body of work is that I noticed in 1960, the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory actually did create something on a smaller scale that would represent what we know or think of as a subterrane. And the way this works is it bores into the stone, and as it's doing so, melts the rock. And this is splayed out onto the walls and fills in the fissures through lithostatic pressure, I believe it is, and it creates this very smooth glass seal inside the walls of the cavern. Now, this was really interesting because it made the hole much more stable and actually rid them of many variables that they came up against in the way of hurdles using some of these more conventional machines. So, our question here is, have they really created something on a more megalithic size in respect to this machine? And is this what they're using to dig deep down into the Earth to find some of these perhaps Stargates or just create military bases or other complexes? I think it's very possible, because if they've been using this technology since 1960, and it's also mentioned in 1971 that there was something of a larger scale built, but, details are somewhat murky. Man, the implications, once again, are so far and wide, and we might be actually cracking a bit more than the Earth's surface with something so large and so impactful in terms of our economic, geological growth, as well as everything that falls in between with technology such as this.
Gotta say, right here at Third Phase has been an explosive week with leaked information, documents, and schematics of secret kind of technology, machines that are being built in these underground bases. I'm looking at this right here. It's a 47 caliber bullet. It was manufactured for World War II, and we found this treasure hunting, but I find similarities. We're taking a close look at this, and it's basically the same design as a subterrane. We're looking at the conical edge, and I find that fascinating. It kind of reminds me of the story of Chernobyl, when they had the nuclear incident, their fallout, and they created lava, basically because a reactor fell apart and it created a meltdown. Now we're looking at something that's maybe a controlled meltdown. What we're looking at is a conical edge that turns rock into liquid, basically lava again. And this would be the best way to create these crystallized glass tunnels and make it pristine as it went along through its travels. We're looking at something of high technology, everything inside of this component. Now we're looking at the schematics, and I'm thinking it's a reality.
What another amazing find. And this one, I can say I strongly 100% believe is a true document. Looking through it thoroughly, minus the physics and all that, and the mathematics, this is a legitimate document. The fact that this machine does what it does is really, really cool. But it's the things that they suggest in this report from Los Alamos Laboratories in New Mexico, the benefits of this tunneling. And what blew my mind, and I think in the first or second page of this 67-page document, was the mention that they could utilize this machine to help alleviate earthquakes and volcanoes. I mean, they just say that and then they don't mention it again. I found that really compelling. But the fact that this has been around since the 60s, this report came out in 71, so they probably already had the technology going by then. But they were discussing how it could alleviate travel, transportation, mail service. Instead of having semi-trucks, you have all of these underground tunnels that would go from one end of the country to the other. And the other options that they discussed were connecting other countries via tunnels under the ocean, which I found fascinating. And they made mention that the Japanese islands already had some of these tunnels.
The subterrane, a quote-unquote tunnel penetrating machine. Now, I've heard about this for decades, and I've read about it, and people who are familiar with Robert Dean's work, and those of people who are living in the United Kingdom who used to subscribe to UFO magazine in the 90s, which is not the same as the one in America, there was several articles discussing a nuclear-powered machine that would heat rock and dirt and sand to such a high degree that while it was creating a tunnel, it would also fuse the broken rock and everything else to become glass. That's exactly what this does. Now, the picture that was circulating then clearly is not of what we're looking at in the drawings of the schematics, which here it's more conical shaped. But as far as what was read is actually written here as well. So this is one of the another great finds, 67 pages full of scientific knowledge, and it's very extensive at that. I really hope everybody out there who is watching this has a chance to read it, and anybody who's involved in science not only has a chance to read it, but reach out to us at Third Phase of Moon, and also anybody, of course, who's been to these underground bases, as we mentioned in the past, and even days ago, or now, based on these plans and this product, we're part of building these underground bases. We would definitely love to hear from you. And again, super shout out to the people who are actively dropping us these clues to disclose to the people.
Imagine the capabilities of the subterrane. Turn this into liquid lava and put it down through rock. It could create a web of tunnels throughout the whole United States and the planet, even under our oceans, possibly. What I'm thinking is that this has been around, this technology, since the 60s or 70s. So the webbing throughout the world must be expansive. What we're looking at is something that could cut through rock like a hot knife through butter.
Now, these tunnels that they're discussing in this proposal, which, like I said, was years ago, so you know they have it now, was the fact that they mentioned they could go 12 to 15 miles deep. And then they go into heavy discussion of the logistics of it all, with communications, with wiring, with water, air, down at depths as such, and the remote control devices that they would have to create. And this is before we had the technology today. So they were like, well, the remote technology to man this drill is going to be really tough to work on. But now we know we have it. So this is an amazing find. We're so blessed to have amazing viewers that have these documents that are now stepping forward and sending them in to us so we can share them with the world. So keep doing so. If you have something and you're willing to share, please send it to Third Phase of Moon, because we're ready to jump on it and look at it and share it with the world. This was an amazing find. Why do I say that? 67 pages, and somebody to fake that got way too much time on their hands. And there's a bibliography, a very thorough scientific bibliography at the end where you can verify all the mentions in this. But of course, like any normal government document, at the beginning it says all the views and opinions in this report are not a reflection of the U.S. government, the Department of Energy, any other foreign entities or third-party entities with the government. So yes, this is an amazing find. Keep sending them in, people. Good job.
Let's talk briefly about the pros and a potential con about this. First, I want to tackle the indemnification clause, which essentially is the legalese, or should I say, for those who are not familiar with that term, the legal words or jargon that is spoken, where essentially it says that the author of the document cannot be sued. I would expect something like that to happen or be placed in something like this in the 70s. For those of you who are not practicing attorneys or are graduating law school or anything of the sort, you might not know that the pendulum of opening the floodgates to litigation has literally swung in such a way where everybody has to indemnify themselves. Now, if this was written in the 40s and it had such a clause, I would think this is very suspect. But no, this is written in the 70s and has that clause, which falls in line with what happened in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where people became sue happy. As of course you may know, they continued to do more so until current era, but that doesn't have anything to do with the document. Another great thing is how extensive all the scientific knowledge here is. Of course, we know it's nuclear powered. We see the schematics of it. It talks about the depths at which it could operate, even the temperatures that is needed, and also the PSI, pounds per square inch, that this machine can take, and also what it operates under. The only thing that I found, I don't even want to say questionable, but it brings up questions in my mind, is the fact that there is a price tag on this. There is nowhere on this document that says classified, secret, top secret, or anything of the sort. However, it does have a price on it. Now, if you were the creator of this and you wanted to shop it around to different government agencies, I would think there may not be a price tag on it, because you could either distribute them for free or charge a large sum of money to get as many needed to each group who needs it. Say if the DIA needs 600 copies, well, $5,000, there you go, or free, there you go. On the flip side, because it's such a small price tag, I'm wondering if this was something that anybody who was in the field, anybody who worked at Los Alamos, or anybody who worked at any of those subcontractors who would have taken jobs to essentially build these underground bases. So I want to ask the person out there, did you purchase this? If not, do you know the person who purchased this or acquired it? And for everybody else out there watching Third Phase of Moon, what do you have to say about the price tag? And do you know anyone who's ever bought this in its original form in the era? And more so, if you've ever been these underground bases and saw any of machines like this that's described in this document operate and have photographs, please get them over to Blake and Brent Cousins at Third Phase of Moon.
Okay, let's talk about the productive aspects and the possible applications that the subterrane might be able to fill. The first I'll mention is that if we're able to drill far enough into the earth, there are pockets of geothermic steam, and we might be able to create power plants on the surface using this geothermic energy. Also, in the way of burrowing underground and working with energy, they proposed putting nuclear power plants underneath so that on the surface it's out of sight, out of mind. In conjunction with that, we have high temperature and pressure testing that can be done underground in the ideal environment. Not to mention that desalination is a big market, and basically you're taking salt water from whatever source and then extracting the salt and being able to sell that off. Well, that'll actually fund the project, just that alone. So there are some limitations in drilling in on angles when it comes to our more modern drilling machines, and the subterrane, because of its nature, actually has the ability to be much more flexible and create tunnels that are much more sturdy with different angles and winding corridors. Another interesting aspect of the subterrane I thought was really cool was on the nose of this device. There's actually a small hole or perforation which, as the rock is melted, it flows into this hole and is collected as a core sample for scientists to then later analyze. I thought that was really interesting. That being said, one of the issues that we have running into, problems with burrowing deeper and deeper into the earth is that sometimes the stone down there is much harder and our bits just don't make it through. Now, one of the interesting aspects, again, of the subterrane is that it would be able to literally melt right through those harder rocks. Those stratus have absolutely, or stratus I should say, have absolutely no chance of withstanding the temperature and pressure that the subterrane exerts. Also, another great thing about this machine is that because it's nuclear powered and the way that they put things together, it doesn't necessarily need to be attended to very often and can completely work on its own for a good amount of time. So these things in mind, we could see why the subterrane might be the quintessential machine for us to burrow underground with, and perhaps on a larger scale with a group that might have the funding for this sort of technology. It's already being used and has been used for years. Now, my question is, could they possibly bring a machine like this to the moon, or have some version or another celestial body in order to create tunnels there? I would think that would probably be the next progressive idea in the way of understanding this technology. I did think it was interesting that some of our current models do have the ability to use frequency and vibration along with maybe a rotation or impact to break open this rock as it's burrowing, but it hasn't been very fruitful, and they've come up with a lot of issues that they pretty much have abandoned the idea. But that being said, on a larger scale, if we had the power, I think that to put a resonation into the stone and to perhaps match and phase something like that, you might have more success.
The implications behind this device, does it exist today? Is it being implemented? What kind of subterranean architectural design is going on underneath our feet right now? The implications behind this technology could open up and free the economy in regards to logistics of travel, transportation of goods, and much, much more. The times right here are getting exciting. Right here at Third Phase Moon, again, I received more emails earlier this morning that we're gonna break down tomorrow. And let me tell you, this episode is gonna be explosive. So buckle up, everybody. Keep your eyes on the skies. Be safe out there. And I want to thank the whole team for giving us their insight in regards to the new documents that we just shared with you. The Los Alamos Science Laboratory, they were onto something. And I think it's happening right now. The subterrane.
Are beyond any capability that we can identify with an Earth nation, either in delivery, in platform, something that a military is showing, or is in development.
The world's largest UFO hunt is on.
A black triangle, white sort of indicator lights on its peripheral tips coming out of the water.
UFO investigators Blake Cousins in search of off-world vehicles along with his twin brother Brent Cousins. Is there ET presence among us? In search for the truth, disclosure is happening now. The UFO Report has the largest archive of the best UFO videos from around the world. Hidden secrets waiting to be unlocked. Incredible UFO videos captured around the world by the public.
Underwater UFOs, which behave in ways that science can't explain.
If you ever wondered whether we're alone in the universe, the answer is here.
Turn the music off! Oh my God.
UFO Report, Third Phase of Moon. We're not alone.